No, and like you said, it's the defense has done fine, but every time they look out there, they're getting no help.
Right.
They're getting no help. And that is got to be a little discouraging because you have to have some help. You'd like to be on the sideline for a while, get some rest, let them run a nice drive, score. Don't put them in the position where they have to score, where they have to do all the work. And that's been the case here of late, unfortunately. But you mentioned something that what has changed. Well, I'm going to be honest. Kalen DeBoer has changed.
Yeah.
This offense is not what it was under Kalen DeBoer, which I expected that. I mean, he is obviously a great offensive mind. He was great before he got here. He was a pinball machine, man, of points before he arrived in Indiana. That's what Indiana looked like under him. That's what Fresno State looks like under him as head coach, as they are 2-1 with a win over a UCLA team and a close loss to another Pac. They're playing with the Pac-12 teams. Hell, the Pac-12 should invite Fresno State in to join. But that's what he's doing. He's competing there. He's elevated. This offense has not only has it not elevated, it has deflated a little bit. And you can blame that on Michael Penix, but you know what? It's not all Michael Penix. And I think that there's part of that is keeping him from getting comfortable. And I'm really wondering how much of an impact not having Kalen DeBoer is having on this offense, because it's looking more and more they're not getting comfortable as the weeks go along. Normally a team also gets a little bit more comfortable as you go along. They're not. They're not looking any different. There's no difference, and that's what's scary. They look like they've had no growth, no momentum, and that is a telltale sign that it's not coming down from the top.
You know what's a lot of people are going to continue to bash Michael Penix and talk about whether he should be the starter or not, but this falls on the offensive line hasn't played well. The running game hasn't been as good as we thought it was going to be. The play calling hasn't been great. You can't try to pick up 25 yards every time you're throwing the ball, and the receivers are not getting open. But here's something that I don't think we gave enough credit to, and I think we're starting to see now. How big was Whop Phillier in this offense? Because what he was able to do is he could catch a bubble screen or screen pass, and he would be able to take a 2-yard gain and turn it into 8 or 9. He could even turn it into 25 or 30 yards. And you don't have that type of security anymore. Michael Penix doesn't have that guy that's a quick trigger that he can get the ball out to and know that this is a guy that can bust it loose. And what he used to be able to do is Whop Phillier would take those quick passes and turn them into big gains. That would open up Ty Freifogel down the field. That would open up some other receivers deep down the field. Indiana doesn't have that weapon right now. And so that's why they can't get anybody open down the field. That's why when they take these deep shots, they're not connecting, because defenses don't have to cheat up on a receiver like they did with Whop Phillier. I think that he was we talked about him being a great receiver. I think he might have been even more important in this offense. Indiana has got to find a guy that can be that type of playmaker. And maybe that guy's
DJ Matthews, man.
There you go. I mean, that might be the type of guy, but you've got to get him.
He's been the most prolific receiver, I think, up till now.
But you've got to get somebody who has that sort of dynamic. I truly believe, because you look at what the offense has done. The running game wasn't great last year, so that's not what defenses were accounting for. It was that screen game. It was that short passing attack that he was so good in. And I really do think that with his departure, I just don't think Indiana has somebody as good as what Whop Phillier was in that offense. I think that they need to find somebody who can do that, and they do have talent at the receiver position. It's just
I think DJ Matthews is more than fills that role. I'm just wondering, those plays aren't being called. They're not being ran. They're not being ran with that efficiency. And again, that takes me back to Kalen DeBoer. There's a reason Fresno State is successful, is succeeding, is playing better, is beating teams that are better than they are. They're beating higher. UCLA is a much higher level team. They beat the spread against Oregon. I mean, there's a reason for that. Indiana does not look as good, and it's across the board on offense. So I'm really really starting to wonder about, and I loved Kalen DeBoer, and I knew when he left, I was like, man, and this is not a knock on Nick Sheridan, but Indiana had the opportunity then to hire anybody they wanted to for offensive coordinator, because that was a red hot position, and they chose not to. And I said it was a mistake then, and I still mean it. You get the best you can get. You put the best players on the field that you can put. You put the best coaches on the sideline and in the box you can put. That's my opinion on that. And when you don't, that's what happens. So there's that. But Tim with a shout out on the Southern Stone shout out page. And don't forget the coaches show tonight at Southern Stone Restaurant at Patterson and Rogers in Bloomington. Coach Tom Allen will be there with Don Fisher at 7:05. You can check that out. So please do that. But Tim shouts out, if they lose to Western or barely beat Western Kentucky and Penix has another bad game, well, if they lose or barely beat Western Kentucky, I would imagine Penix is having not a good game. Does Allen still keep him as quarterback, or will he finally give Tuttle a shot? Well, first of all, if that's a game that's close at halftime and it's offensive woes, it's time. I'm already to that point to where, but I don't know that it's the quarterback. I don't know that if we see Jack Tuttle, it matters, because if you're calling the same plays and doing the same thing and making the same mistakes, it's really not going to matter. If you're not making the catches. Now, Penix he's made some bad decisions. He's thrown some balls that were not catchable, and he's thrown 6 picks, 4 of which were forced. 2 of which were not his fault, but 4 were on him. I don't know how much the quarterback changes right now. If it depends on what the real issue is, Dustin. Is it the quarterback? Is it coaching? Where is it? I don't know, but I don't think you can hang on to Michael Penix, even though he is the guy. And I never dreamed we'd be having this conversation. No. But you can't. It's time to do, even if it's wrong, do something. Just to bring him out and talk to him. That's what I said you should have done in the maybe it was Iowa game I talked about. Bring him out early. Just talk to him. Let him sit on the side. Let him see what is going on out there. Let him watch for a minute, if nothing else, for a quarter, if nothing else. But I think you have to try. You have to put Jack Tuttle in. Jack Tuttle. And I know it was probably coincidence, but was it the Idaho game that Penix threw for 68 total yards and Tuttle comes in and throws for a 76-yard touchdown? I know that could be fluky, but you know what? Sometimes flukes turn things around. Sometimes it takes one play to rejuvenate someone. Sometimes you just have to try something different. And I know that I was talking earlier about the Utah situation. What a joke that is, where you have the Brewer kid who transferred in, was a starter, probably going to lose a starting job, walks out on the team 3 games into the season. Yeah. I think he should not be allowed to play freaking college again. You're done to me. I mean, you're dead to me. You're done. But I can't imagine that situation happening. But hey, this is pull your big boy pants up, man. This is not Pop Warner.
Well, and I think you can look, excuse me, you can look even into the conference. Look at what Northwestern did the other day against Duke. They got down 30-3 or something like that. They made a change. Hunter Johnson threw 3 interceptions. They made a change. They brought in Andrew Marty, and all of a sudden they got within a touchdown. He got injured and had to leave that game, but they made a change during that game, and that's what sparked kind of an offensive rejuvenation. I mean, it didn't look great, but it got them back in the game. And so I think what you're going to have to do is if you get to a certain point against Western Kentucky, you do have to give Jack Tuttle a shot. I'm with you. I'm not so sure that it's all that Michael Penix is taking. He might be taking too much heat, because I just don't know where all. To me, it's offensive line, it's the run game, it's receivers not getting open, it's a combination. But at the same time,
not catching balls,
not catching the passes. Sometimes change is good, and sometimes maybe that's just the spark you need. Maybe Jack Tuttle is going to provide that spark. at some point, whether it's right or wrong, you're going to have to make a change, because at the end of the day, you've got to win football games. You've got to sell season tickets. You've got to get to a bowl game. You've built this program. You can't regress. And I don't see this team now winning 8 or 9 games, but I still think bowl eligibility, getting to 6 wins, is still hugely important, especially if you can get that to that bowl victory. So you have to do something. If it doesn't look good on Saturday against Western Kentucky, you have to do something. And if that means changing the quarterback, then you've got to do it, because you've got to get to 6 wins. You can't have the success you had the past 2 seasons, expect to continue momentum if you don't at least get to a bowl game.